Hi everybody, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to use a plugin called Greeble for 3ds Max to produce something that looks similar to what is shown on the screen here. Basically, it's a really useful tool for, say, city planners, urban designers, or architects to be able to, with a few clicks of a button, automate the creation of a future city. Um, really useful for blue sky thinking or future generation of context without having to invest too much time into having to draw the city blocks yourselves, manually extrude them yourselves to random heights to create a future context. It's important to note that Greeble isn't a default plugin that comes with 3ds Max, and so you'll need to actually manually install it yourself into 3ds Max. I've left the link below to the website in which you can download Greeble, which is Max Clanky. So if you follow that link and download the Greeble version that is appropriate for your version of 3ds Max, so mine's 2020, so I've downloaded the Greeble version for 2020 for my computer. So once you've downloaded the version of Greeble into your computer, you'll need to load it into 3ds Max. I've already loaded it into my 3ds Max, but just for the sake of completeness, I'll show everyone how to quickly do it. The 3ds Max, once you've opened up 3ds Max and obviously downloaded and saved Greeble, inside 3ds Max, go to Customize and then go to Configure User and System Paths. Then you'll need to go into third-party plugins. And as I mentioned before, my Greeble is already loaded into my computer, but for those of you who don't have it loaded in, you need to click Add, and then you'll need to find the place where you saved Greeble. So in my case, I saved it on my desktop inside Greeble 2020, and then you click on Greeble, and then you click Use Path, and then you click OK. I won't obviously I won't need to do it again because I've already got it in once, but once you've clicked OK, that'll install 3ds Max, install Greeble into your 3ds Max. What you'll then need to do is just close 3ds Max and reopen it again, just so that the installation can fully boot. Now, assuming that you've done all of that, we can now begin to create our future city. So first thing I'm going to do is go to the create button, and I'm going to create the plane. So I might just drag this plane out here and let it go. I might just clean up the length and width. I might just make it 200 meters by 200 meters. I'm going to keep the length and width segments at 2020, which is what is responsible for this grid-like grid-like image here on top of this plane, because these will be our future city blocks later on. Once I've drawn that, I'm just going to then go into the modify panel, and I'm going to apply a edit poly modifier, which is just this option here. This basically will edit the plane that you see in front of you. So I'll click that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select this plane that I've drawn by its polygon, not its edge, vertex, or border, none of these, but its polygon, because once I've selected this, this will allow me to choose, polygon, select object. Yep. So this will then allow me to select each individual block or city block inside the plane itself. So I don't want to have to manually click all of these, so I'm just going to go ahead and highlight all of these blocks here, and you can see all of my city blocks are now highlighted. What I'm going to do is, just to give some spacing between the city blocks, is I'm going to inset them in a little bit, just to give them some space between the buildings. These could act like roads or something. So just underneath the edit polygon option, there's an option called inset. I'm going to click on the little option next to inset, because this will allow me to dictate settings for inset before I actually execute the command itself. So I'm just going to click settings, and this little command prompt opens up. I'm going to choose the inset amount by, you, you can see here that right now when I'm insetting, it's actually insetting the whole plane. So how you would fix that is just actually go to this first option here, whereby it's trying to inset by group. You want to change that to inset by polygon, because what happens is it's trying to insert the whole plane rather than each individual block. So once you've selected by polygon, hopefully doesn't happen anymore, and then you can just go back and just play around with some of your numbers to create your city blocks. I might just keep mine at a simple 1.5 meters, and then I'm just going to click tick, and you can see here now that the city blocks have been inserted in from their original grid, but to all basically become actual blocks, which we can then begin to play around with later on. You can see that they're all red, and preferably we'd like to keep it that way just to make sure they remain selected, just for ease of greebling. So once you've done that, go back to the modifier list. Click the drop down arrow, and now instead of edit poly, we're going to choose Greeble, which is the plugin that we installed before. So once you click this, and it basically now creates a big city model, essentially, full of random buildings, on which you can begin to play around with. Now, if you're not happy with the heights, you can play around with some of the panels here. You can change the minimum height from 1. You can change the minimum height as you need, and you can also change the maximum height to suit your preferences. But essentially, you can see just with a few clicks, you can create a fairly quick model of future context. So you don't have to actually manually manually extrude objects one by one. And that's pretty much it. Thanks, guys.